Hi, I am here with Esteban Arguello, the director of the feature film that we'll be seeing on the opening night here at the Arlington International Film Festival. Esteban, thank you very much for joining us. Can you, first of all, because I don't trust myself, give us the proper pronunciation in Chinese of the film?
It's called Jiàoliàn, which means coach in Chinese.
Okay, and I understand that it is about a coach, a North American coach, who ends up in China coaching a Chinese professional team, perhaps a little bit unexpectedly for him. Is that right?
Exactly. What's most unexpected, I think, was his age. That he was just 27 years old, fresh out of college, looking for his first opportunity. Ended up being a sort of unexpected opportunity with a professional club coaching NBA players. Something that he says he was ready for, but ended up being a really big challenge and a really unique story, especially once they started winning. And he took a team that was sort of bottom of the league and made him relevant. But in doing so, he kind of stirred up a lot of the way things work in the CBA, the Chinese Basketball Association. And so that's what our story focuses on, sort of the traditions of Chinese basketball, why they're so, and sort of the political motivations behind that. And basically, it's a fish out of water story.
And excuse me, obviously, the story was filmed exclusively in China, which means you were there. How did you come to be there?
Well, I was living there for a while. I moved there in 2012 because my wife found a great opportunity over there, and that was right at the same time of the NBA lockout. And so there were a lot of NBA players going over there, and I figured, well, some of these guys must be going through same things I'm going through. And I thought that would be a unique story and a nice vantage point to tell a great story. And so that's where the story began.
So, in other words, when you say some of the same things you were going through, you're referring to just that the culture shock and cultural acclimation, et cetera, that anybody would go through in living in a new land.
Exactly.
And what did you find was the most compelling thing for the American players there? And then how about the focus as well on the Chinese players?
You know, I think the most I set out to tell a story about two cultures coming together through the sport of basketball, and what became really apparent right from the beginning was how big the divide was. The Americans are treated on a different level as the Chinese players, namely because the Americans are so good. They are much better. These are NBA guys playing with Chinese players that, even though the game has been there for 100 years, it has a long, rich tradition in China, it hasn't developed at the same rate as the Americans. The NBA is the best league in the world. These athletes are amazing. So watching the two come together was at times very dramatic, but also very enlightening and eye-opening, and that's what the story focuses on.
And I assume that in any creative process that develops over the course of a long period of time, your vision at the beginning is not necessarily exactly how things might transpire or result in the end. So just pick maybe a couple of things that surprised you or that are really kind of fundamentally different about the story we'll be seeing tonight versus how you envisioned it at the beginning.
Right. Well, I think that the first thing I imagined was that I was going to make a story about the players. And what I quickly realized was that the players are working the entire time. So it's really hard to get their time and attention. And so that's why Norman kind of became the subject. Norman is the coach that we follow. Because he had a lot more time on his hands. He was a lot more receptive to the cameras being around, and so that made things easier. The other thing that was surprising was just how little access I had to some of the Chinese players and how guarded and how regimented their day is. Their system really comes out of a military system, and so they are in essence treated something like soldiers, where they have very regimented wake-up times, curfews, and that was very eye-opening to see what the players are going through, and as opposed to our American system, where the players here are giving a lot of liberties, so that was very interesting.
Great. So your film is distinguished for sure in terms of being the feature film on the opening night of this festival. Tell us a little bit about how it was that you came on to the Arlington International Film Festival radar and how things transpired to get to you to where we are tonight.
Well, I applied because friends told me about this festival, that it's a local festival, and I'm from the Boston area. Norman's from the Boston area, so we wanted to play here as often as possible. And the director of the festival gave me a call and said that we were in, and so we're delighted to be here.
And again, I would just say this is a true honor for your film. I'm sure I'm very much looking forward to watching it. I congratulate you on this honor and this status of opening the film festival for 2016, and hope to see more of you and your work in the future.
Well, thank you. We'd love to be back here anytime.
Thanks very much. Good luck. Enjoy.